You're not getting any younger, so
enjoy every moment of your life. Laugh and play.
Hey you! Yes, you. Welcome to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast, a podcast for people who want to disrupt their lives for a good reason, to make it count. I'm your host, Jen Glantz, and every week I'll drop a new episode with stories from real people just like you, who woke up one morning and decided to make big changes, starting with small things. We'll cover topics like entrepreneurship, love, failure, and self-care. Hey, you're not getting any younger, so let's make this an adventure. Ready? Being an entrepreneur is not all about money all of the time, but ultimately, without it, you can't really grow your business and earn a sustainable income. So imagine if there was something that you can do to earn passive income on autopilot with little to no time commitment after launch. One of the most effective strategies that I have used for both jenglantz.com and bridesmaidforhire.com is to host and sell online courses on Thinkific. By sharing your passion and expertise in an online course, you also can monetize your skills and earn a highly profitable stream of passive income. Why not try this out in a brand new year that's on the horizon? It's a great way of building your audience, showcasing a skill, and making money. So if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, freelancer, starting your own course can help you reach these financial goals without taking away any time from supporting your own business or even your full-time job. That means more money in your pocket, along with more freedom to focus your time and energy on what really matters to you. Whether that's taking a vacation or ensuring that you have more money for a nest egg for the future. More than 50,000 entrepreneurs are already using Thinkific to build revenue and educate students worldwide. Try it for free today at try.thinkific.com/jenglantz. That's try.thinkific.com/jenglantz. You are going to love it, and I'm excited for you. Hey, any youngers, it's me, your host, Jen Glantz, back with another episode of the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. I'm excited for this episode because we have a guest. And as you know, we don't really have many guests on the show anymore, but if I have a really awesome person that I meet or I come across and I want them as a guest, I just get super excited to bring them on the show because I know their advice and their stories are going to be game changers for you. Now, today's guest is interesting in so many ways, and you'll find out soon, but her and I have never actually met in person, which would be quite normal because I don't really meet a lot of the guests on the show ever in person, only through audio or through Zoom. But this is a person who I feel like I should have met in person before because this is a person who is friends with literally every single member of my family and has a really awesome relationship with all of them. So this is somebody that I feel like I should have known forever, met in person forever, but I haven't. And the first time we met, the first time we spoke was for this podcast, which was awesome because I felt like I have known her forever. And she's just a really special person that I'm so excited for you to meet. One of the highlights of our conversation is we talk about dating, but we also talk about the interesting things that we all do on first dates. For example, I always used to show up late on purpose. That way, that other person would be settled in and I'd show up and I wouldn't be lingering for them. But this week's guest has the ultimate reason for why she shows up early. It is so ultimate that it even convinced me that her method is way better than the one that I used to do. So I'm excited to introduce you to Arielle Leavitt. She is the host of the Elevate Love podcast, which is such a beautiful and heartwarming podcast that explores relationships and love and all of the interesting things in between. I know you're going to love her, so let's dive right in to this week's episode.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
I know. I'm so excited to talk to you because I feel like we should have known each other. We should have met in this lifetime, but we haven't. You are friends with every single one of my family members, which I think is so cool because I feel like nobody really knows my family and you know them so well. So I feel like you're somebody that I should have been friends with years ago.
I'm so glad. But now we get to start a friendship fresh today. And like, this is exciting.
There's nothing better and there's nothing more 2021 than starting a friendship with someone over Zoom and on a podcast.
That's so well said.
I just imagine that's like how dating is probably as well, but we'll talk about that coming up. I want to ask you the first question I ask everybody who comes on the show. How would you describe who you are and what you do to somebody you just met at a party?
Ooh, that's really fun. I like that. Okay, because I love going to parties. I'm actually like a big extrovert. Okay, let me get started on this. Well, I have a podcast. It's called Elevate Love. And I get to talk about relationships, the good, the bad, the ugly, but I like to focus on the positive ones because I feel like in the positive ones, that's where we get to really grow and see all these amazing things that people have learned and can teach us and wisdom. So then we get to grow and become better at relationships. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
You know what's so funny is like the very next thing I wrote down, no joke, is that I feel like just by knowing you from social media and on your podcast, that I feel that you are a very positive person. Do you feel like you are? And if so, what kinds of things do you do to trap the positivity into your life?
Oh, yeah. I really do try to look at like the grass is greener, not on the other side, but the grass is just green expression. We're going to create my own expression on this, but yeah, that I don't know. I've always, maybe my family has influenced me on that or whatever it is, but I always try to have a positive outlook or look at something, a situation. If I'm stuck in a situation that I'm not really enjoying, how can I make this a fun situation? How can I learn something from it, and how can I grow? I've been always into that. So, and people have always said I'm a positive person. I didn't really even think of that until like recently when people are like, you're really positive. And I was like, oh, okay. I like, when people point things out to you, it's kind of fun. You're like, oh, I didn't even really think about that with myself. But
it's
nice.
so funny that you wouldn't call yourself positive, but it comes through even to people who don't know you in real life. I just take that from listening to your podcast and seeing you on social media. How would you describe yourself? If nobody told you were positive, how would you describe your overall attitude?
My overall attitude is like, I think for me, I mean, I guess positive or like interested in things, but oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I guess. All right, positive. We're putting a label on it. I'm positive.
No, but I think like, would you also maybe call yourself curious?
Yeah.
I feel like I get that vibe too. And I feel like both of those things is what makes your podcast different. I've had so many dating people on before, but why I was so excited to chat with you and talk about your podcast, Elevate Love, is because I think, again, you come at it from a very different type of approach. So dating has a weird stigma around it. People are always talking about dating horror stories and bad dating experiences and why dating is horrible. But what made you decide to take a more positive approach to just this world of dating?
I feel like enjoy it, right? Like we can be really upset about the system. We can be really miserable. We can be, it's so easy to be grumpy. You turn on the news, and it's negative. It's nasty. Everywhere we look, it could be really frustrating. This guy just cut me off on the street and now my day is ruined or whatever it may be. But when you start adding that positive, that let's just have fun with this situation vibe, all of a sudden you just notice like everything around you starts flowing better. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, yes. I mean, yes, I do have my days where I'm grumpy. I'm not going to lie, but they're few and far between, which I'm very grateful about. And, but when you start having those like little fun moments or just making a game out of something, whatever it may be, if you're in line at Starbucks and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to be there like at my meeting at 3:30 and it's 3:25 and the line is like 10 cars long. Just start making a fun situation or be productive or figure out something that you can do to, figure out a more positive way of going about that shitty Oh, I mean, not I don't know if I'm supposed to say that word.
No, you can say it.
Okay. A situation, a difficult situation.
I know a lot of people listening are listening and they want to go back into dating. They want to give it a go again, but they've had such negative experiences or they're feeling over it. How would you suggest somebody sort of revamp their attitude and their mood toward dating to have that more positive and fun spin, especially after just feeling so exhausted by it?
So that's interesting. I've actually come to this part where I was feeling exhausted. I actually kind of I'm stumbling over my own words, but I always thought it was crazy when people would say I'm exhausted from dating. I was just like, how could you be exhausting? It's so much fun meeting these people. And again, like you've said in the past, where you get to go to your weddings and you get to be this person and get to talk to people and find out their story, right? How could this be exhausting? And I finally kind of hit my limit where I was just like, nobody wants to have fun anymore. You go on these dates and everybody's like, okay, when are we getting married? Because I need to start this now. My clock is ticking. And even guys, I mean, guys and girls or whatever, it's all the same. So it's nice to just be able to go on these dates and like flirt. I don't know. No one flirts anymore. We gotta bring back flirting. That's something that I am wanting to do.
Yeah.
But
Do you think the pandemic made people feel this urgency again? Do you think it influenced how people were feeling about dating or how they approached it?
yeah, and I think people are maybe even rethought it a little bit. These words, I don't know. But anyways, rethought it a little bit. And ooh, what kind of person would I want to be trapped in my house with? Because that's a whole thing. I mean, you really do want to be trapped with your best friend if you're going to be trapped with somebody or somebody that you're going to truly enjoy, that's going to uplift you. And in dating in the pandemic has brought up different questions for people. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's really much needed conversation to have. I think it's actually, I don't know, 2020, I know has been a tough, rough year for a lot of people, but there's also a lot of light to look at it.
Oh, for sure. And I think there's so much beauty in a year of just sort of turning things inward and understanding yourself better. And I don't know, I almost want to know from someone like you who enjoys a good date every now and then, do you do anything to prepare for the dates? I know when I used to go on dates, and I still do this when I go meet friends, I write a list of questions that I want to ask them so that the conversation is interesting, but also I don't get nervous and have nothing to say. That was my date prep, was that I would write out questions. What do you do to prepare? Do you listen to music? Do you drink an energy shot? What do you do to get ready for these dates?
Oh my gosh, this is such a great question. What do I do to get ready for these dates? I literally just am this is my time to get really dressed up. So I'm let me put my outfit on, let me feel really good, and let me feel as sexy as possible, because this is my fun date that I get to go on and be who I want to show to the world. So I figure out what type of person I'm going on the date with a little bit, and then what outfit would probably complement their style a little bit. So I want to make sure that we're kind of in the same vibe. And then when I go there, I usually, this little secret, but I'm never on time for anything. And for these dates, I'm always early because
Wait, why?
Because I don't want to be walking up to a situation where I'm not in charge of. I want to be sitting at the bar and ready for that other person to walk up to me. And then I can be kind of more in control of the situation. I already sometimes will have my drink already done, because I don't want to be put on the spot with what are we going to drink, and then be peer pressured into maybe something I don't want to drink, which don't ever give into peer pressure, right? Kids, don't do it. But yeah, no, I just want to kind of be in my zone, so then I'm able to have that conversation with somebody.
Okay, you need to teach me everything, because I am the opposite. I'm always on time for everything. I purposely come late. And I do this even with friend situations, because I don't want to be the first one there. It messes with my confidence when I'm the first one there. And then let's say they approach me and my facial expression is weird from something. I will do everything. I will walk an extra circle around the block just to be late. So I need to know more about this whole idea of getting there and feeling in control of the situation. I mean, what do you think it does? Do you think it just like helps you with your confidence? Do you think it just help, like, what do you think it does for that first impression?
It makes me feel like that they're coming into my space. So I'm not going into theirs. They're coming onto my territory. Whether we're meeting, I mean, we're not meeting at my house. We're not meeting at anywhere that just a restaurant or a coffee shop or whatever it may be. But then I'm holding the floor. So I get to have the control of where this is going to go and how the conversation is going to happen and what is going on in my environment. So I know like, okay, the barista's over there, this person's there. I know kind of assess the situation before. So I need an escape route. If there is like a loud, crazy party over there that I'm going to start joining in a few minutes because my date is not where we're going. And I'm going to pretend that those are people are my friends or something, whatever it may be. But I need to know what the situation is. And this is the first time I've ever shared this with anybody, by the way. Talk about a stranger, right? Or whatever.
Wait, I love this. And I feel like, okay, this is so off topic, but you should do coaching because I would have paid you a lot of money to teach me that when I was single, because again, like I always felt it's so much easier to do the opposite, but that's, you make such a good point of just being able to be aware of your surroundings, to be in control, to sort of understand what's going on, to order the drink before, to do all of that. Like it is so fascinating. And I think it makes you also feel like a strong person too on these dates. Yeah, I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And then, yeah, and also like you can't get your drink roofied, right? Because you're there first and it eliminates all that crazy, scary thoughts that could go through your head with that. Yeah, so that's kind of my way of starting the date or preparing, I guess I should say, for the date.
Do you have like any go-to questions you like to ask? And yeah, I feel like, do you have any like go-to good questions you like to ask?
So I'm a big believer in not talking about your job on the first date or like in the first like 10 minutes, maybe because it's something I do all day, every day. And I constantly am talking about what I do for work and selling my business and selling, or describing it, whatever you want to say, not selling, everything's selling, right? So when I go on these dates, I try to like make a joke or obviously start flirting with that person and kind of get that vibe going into a more playful vibe, then we can get into that. Like, I always say this too, is that I don't think you should know I should say, let me rephrase this. The best conversations are when you're talking to somebody and you don't know their name until the end of the conversation.
Wow. I really love that. Tell me more.
So I feel like if you're having a really good conversation with somebody, it doesn't matter what their name is. It matters who they are. It matters what's going on and what you're joking about, and you're connecting with them on such a deeper level than like, hi, my name is Arielle and I do this, and this is what is going on. And because your job is not who you are, it's what you do.
God, you're so right. I feel like the least interesting thing about a person is what they do and what their name is.
Yeah. But if you can connect with them on like this funny joke, or it opens them up to like, hey, I had coffee with my grandmother last week that unfortunately passed away, or this is a terrible, terrible analogy. We can get that one. But no passing away, no dying here. But, I just, whatever it may be, to start with that and on such a deeper level, it's, we're human. We want to connect. I mean, everybody wants to connect with each other. Even introverts need connection.
Yeah, no, this is like a fun game I love to play when I meet anybody, is like, how quick can we get to the deep question? Mm-hmm. And usually I try to do that very quick because I don't want to waste my life talking about the weather and like how it's the change of season and oh my God, we're in October. Like I try really hard to get to that deep question, and sometimes it freaks them out. Even Adam will be like, what did you just do? Like I feel this like intense pressure to cut past that because I want to know what's interesting about a person. I want to talk about topics that they haven't spoken about in a very long time. Like I want to get there. So like, do you have like any openers that you ask, or do you just try to like comment on the surroundings and then move in with like a question?
I think telling a joke or making the person feel comfortable, a compliment, a joke, just something to kind of like break the ice a little bit allows that other person to all of a sudden be like, okay, I took my sip of vodka, I took whatever it is, my sip of beer. And then this joke, and okay, we're feeling a little bit more casual. We can like loosen up a little bit more, because the conversation is like a song and dance, right? It's that whole like back and forth. It gets that rhythm going. And I think if you open that way, it helps the other person to then be like, okay, I can let my guard down a little bit, because people have their guards up so high. I mean, I can say I'm guilty of that too. And because we're just kind of conditioned, I think, a little bit more like that, to be a little bit more guarded.
For sure. And I think sometimes like our social skills are all over the place, because not everyone socializes with people. Not everyone has jobs where they're constantly talking to people or new people. So it's hard to go on a date and then suddenly be like the most social version of yourself. I'm sure like, it's hard, it's awkward. People are coming in with all these unknowns. And I'm just so fascinated by the fact that you like to show up there first. I find that to be like game changing in my mind.
And then, well, then here's another thing, throw this into it. I mean, this just tells a lot about my personality, but I also enjoy being set up on dates. I much, much rather be set up on a date than have to pick somebody off of an app and go on a date with them that way. And at one point, and my ex-boyfriend and I were going to do this because he knows me very well. We're much better friends than dating, as a lot of people I'm sure can agree with that, and with their own relationships, not mine. And so at one point we'd broken up, we'd been off for a while, and he said to me, it's like, you should go on the apps. Like, you really want to get married, and this is something that you want in your life. And I said, yeah, I guess it's time for me to go on the apps. So I get on. 3 seconds later, I'm like, I need to get off of this. What did I just do? I start sweating. I'm like hyperventilating, like, get me off of this app. And he calls me up and he's like, what's going on? Like, I thought you were going to be on it. And I was like, I can't do this. It's like too much pressure. I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable. I like to meet people naturally, organically, or something like that. And so he goes, I think I know you better than yourself. Why don't I go on as you and just see if I can get you a date, and I'll just set you up, and you don't mind going on blind dates. So you'll just get set up and you go on the date. And I know he wouldn't pick crazy people. Like, I know he would pick people like truly genuinely for me. I was like, I'm in, done. I don't have to think about it. I'll just show up and I trust you. So we started, and then I was like, well, if I'm doing this for you, or if you're doing this for me, I'm going to do this for you, because that's not fair, right? I want to have fun in this. So we decided, he had my profile, I had his. We weren't going to talk to the people very long. It was just going to be like, hey, do you want to meet up? Like, let's meet up. So then that way there's no like deceitfulness or anything. And he goes, okay, well, you're probably not, I'm probably not, he goes, I'm probably not going to get that many likes. I was like, no, these pictures are great. You got this. Like, no guys are ever on Hinge that like look as good as you. Come on. You're great. And so the next day I texted him, like, you got 3 likes. Oh my gosh, this is great. This is fabulous. And he goes, yeah, and you have 81, no joke. And I was just like, he's like, this is too much work. I'm out. That's how
oh my God.
So we never got to try this social experiment, which would have been so much fun. But he was just like, this is too much work. And I was like, yeah, it can be overwhelming and exhausting. And I mean, but because I just put my profile out, I mean, that's the only, when you do that.
But I mean, it's fascinating too, like when you take the pressure off of doing it yourself, and then you just are set up. Like I think most people would say they don't like getting set up. So I think it is fascinating that you do like it. But I think it's like also like it takes the pressure off of having to swipe, having to message, having to set everything up. I mean, you need like an assistant to do all of that at that point. 81 likes, it's like, how are you ever going to get through that, But I think a big thing that people feel about getting set up is like the pressure of like, is this going to work? If it doesn't work, is it going to ruin a friendship? So you love it just because it cuts out all the BS, right?
At least I know that they did not murder anybody in the back room.
Yeah.
Like that show you, right? At least I'm safe, right?
Yep.
So that's one of my reasons why I like getting set up. For me, there's no hard feelings like with the other person. If you set me up with like a guy that you're like, oh, this just didn't work. No, thank you for thinking of me. I really appreciate it. And I met somebody cool or new, or I have a story from it, or whatever it may be. But yeah, I know people get nervous about it.
I feel like you should have, like, you would A, be a great matchmaker, B, you would be a great like connector of people. Like, I don't know, there's like something big for you in this world with dating, because I think you approach it in such a like carefree, playful kind of way, whereas most people, including myself, approached it as like a uptight, scared kind of thing. And I think it's fascinating.
I think it's taken me a while to get there. It definitely, this is not how I've always approached it. It's changed over the years. I did have some serious relationships, and I was so, maybe I think that's also why, that's just I'm like digesting this with you while I'm talking to you about it, because it's like word vomit right now. Mean Girls just quoted. Anyways, so it, like my relationships, at least one in particular that was very intense for 6 years. I was like, this is, we're going to get married and it's going to be like this, because also the pressure of society. You have to have this done. You have to, like, you're 23 and you don't have 3 kids already. What's wrong with you? And you don't have a house and you don't have the everything else. And I put so much pressure on that relationship. And thank goodness the guy that I was dating is wonderful. And he made it a lot more light, light in a way. But once that, unfortunately, that relationship ended, I realized, I was like, I just need to have fun and play. Like, that's who I am to the core. And if society doesn't really like it, it's okay, because that's what feels comfortable for me. So, yeah.
I feel like you've learned a lot personally, but I'm sure you've also learned a lot with your podcast, Elevate Love. So, being the person who you interviewed couples for a while, and now you interview people on all different types of topics, from relationships, loves, weddings, everything. What are some of like the biggest takeaways or even things that you've learned being the host of this podcast?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. Okay. So one of the biggest things that I've learned is it's all about you, right? It's all about you. And even in relationships, if you're fighting with your spouse, it's all about you. You know how to fix it. You know what's causing it. When I hear about spouses like fighting or whatever, they'll fight and they'll be like, yeah, I know I was pushing his buttons because it was something, whatever it is. But it all comes back to how, what you reflect back into the world. And so that's one thing that I've been learning more about on this podcast, on this journey that I've been going on through Elevate Love. And I have been enjoying it because it's really cool seeing everybody's journey and how they get there. And yeah, so I've just enjoyed that it comes back to you. The world is a reflection of you is one of my favorite sayings, right? So that's what I'm finding in these journeys with everybody.
I mean, it's so true. I feel like when you are in a relationship, you think like you lose yourself, you lose who you are, you lose your independence, you lose all this. But truthfully, you bring so much of yourself and it's not lost. You are in control. You are causing things, like we think of relationships as like splitting ourselves in half, but truthfully, we are showing up and we don't even realize the power we have sometimes.
Yeah.
I know every single fight I have with Adam, in the back of my head, I'm like, you could end this fight right now, or you could just drag this out because you just need the drama. And I just drag it out, and I know in my head, like, if I say this next thing, it's going to turn into another hour, and I say it anyway. It's a weird mental game being in these relationships.
It truly is. It's the biggest self-growth I feel like you ever experience in your life.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yes, doing it with other things and careers and everything, but when you have somebody that you're with that can show it back to you in a way, and or emphasizes it back to you, I should say. Yeah, the relationships are amazing. They're amazing ways to grow, and you just have to be open to do that.
I do agree. I want to ask you the final question that I ask everybody on this podcast. You're not getting any younger, so
enjoy every moment of your life. Laugh and play. Just have a fun time with a situation, whatever it may be. I mean, obviously not at the expense of somebody else, or throw any jokes, or, like any whatever, but have fun, play with it, and we forget as getting older, we don't, as kids, we play. Kids are the best people to play. And as we get older, we forget to do that. And that's kind of not fun being an adult. So
amen to that. And look how positive that was, because you are a positive person and the world needs more of that. Honestly, the world needs more people who have that mindset. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Tell people where they can find out more about you and Elevate Love.
So I love to connect with people on Instagram at elevate.love.xo or the podcast Elevate Love. I also have a Facebook group called Elevate Love where I post questions and kind of just check in with everybody there, see what's going on. So whatever way people want to connect with me, I'm here. I'm open to it. I love getting feedback. So, or if there's something that somebody's interested in, let me know.
Hey, you. Thank you for listening to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. There are hundreds of thousands of pods out there, so thank you for listening to this one. You can find the show notes for this week's episode up on our website, anyyounger.com. Subscribe, rate, and review the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast on iTunes so that other ears around the world can listen too. Oh, and join our secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group, where over 1,000 people are talking about how to disrupt their lives, for a good reason, to make it count. Until next week, all my love, Jen Glantz.